Broadcasting live worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the studios in the wrestling capital of the South, it's another terrific episode of The Binge Buster Show. Please welcome your host, Tony Binge.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Binge Buster Show. We have got an exceptional action-packed show story for you guys tonight. I cannot wait. I know it's been a couple of weeks since our last podcast, and the last show we had my good friend Corey Edsel on, and he was telling his life story, and man, it was a tremendously great podcast. I really enjoyed it, and tonight's going to be even better because it's a double header. We're going to have two guests on at the same time, which I'm excited about. That's the first time in Binge Buster history that we've had four guests on the show at the same time. You got me as the host, Chris as the co-host, and we're going to have two guests coming up later on. These guys have been in the wrestling business for a very long time and big stars here in the Carolinas. So tonight's show is going to be great. We're going to be sharing some memories and some stories and probably create some controversy along the way. But before I get started, I got to bring on my co-host. I'm talking about Chris Rock and Roll Plano. Chris, what's going on?
Woo, terrific, Tony. Thank you for having me back on the air again. I know it's been a couple of weeks, and I'm so excited about tonight's show. Two special guests coming at the fans tonight. We got some double trouble in the house. I'm excited, and I can't wait.
Man, it's great. Chris, I know usually when we open up the podcast, we talk about getting vaccinated and opening up North Carolina. But tonight we're going to skip all that because, Chris, North Carolina is busted wide open, is it not?
Whew. Tony, let me tell you, things are opening up in North Carolina. Restaurants, bars, entertainment, concerts are on the way, outdoor concerts, indoor concerts, club shows. Things are moving, I think, a little bit faster than maybe some people aren't even realizing just yet, and I'm excited. It's only to get better as the summer moves on after the 4th of July and beyond and into the fall. And, boy, I think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel here.
I know. I can't wait. I know every week you and I talk about a little bit of rock and roll. The one thing I want to talk about, Chris, last weekend here in the Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina, I was at one of the local pubs here in town, and they had a Motley Crue tribute band. And Chris, I had my eyes closed, man. I thought it was the real Crue. They were blowing the roof off the joint.
Woo, Tony, I saw a few of the videos you had, and boy, those guys did a great job. And I am so kicking myself in the butt. I know you were trying to get me up there, up to Mooresville, but hey, the next time that Motley Crue tribute band comes around, I'm going to be there front and center with you. They did a great job, and like you said, if you closed your eyes, it sounded like you had the boys in front of you.
Man, it really did. I couldn't believe how close that they sounded and they looked, and man, I was just I was pumped up. I was like, I made a TikTok and I said when and on the TikTok video under the description I said, when you can't go to the stadium tour, you go to the bar tour, and that's where I was at, man. But I tell you, it sounded just like the real thing. Some people said even better. I don't know about all that, but I did enjoy the band. They were really good. And I had a good time hanging out with some old friends I hadn't seen in a long time. Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you got going on? You got any major plans this weekend? Seen any hot bands or anything going on?
Well, yeah, we got some plans this weekend. We're going to check out some local bands. I believe this Friday, Saturday night in the area. And let me tell you, the local bands are touring, and I'm holding my breath, Tony. We're less than a week away. Maybe PNC Music Pavilion opening up next Tuesday night with Chicago coming to town, and it'll be the first outdoor concert in over 2 years at PNC. I'm holding my breath here. We're 6-7 days away, and boy, it's exciting. And And once they get through that, the concerts are going to be coming every week here to Charlotte, and they're already planning them out now through the end of the year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. That's like my home away from home. Sorry guys, I'm over here having a nice cocktail, and I think it went down the wrong way. But anyway, you know, it happens. Hey, but before we go any further, we got to bring on our guest tonight. As I said at the top of the program, 2 guests this week instead of 1. I've got the up and coming AJ Frost is going to be here, and then longtime Mid-Atlantic legend here in the Carolinas, and a good friend of mine I've known for ever since I started wrestling. James McHone is in the house. So fans, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to have James McHone and AJ Frost coming up right after this.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
All right, fans, welcome back to the Binge Buster Show. As I said before we went off that little break, going to have AJ Frost and James McHone. Guys, how are you?
How's it going? Terrific, Tony. What's going on tonight?
Man, James, it has been a few Saturdays since it has went by since the last time I saw you. But the cool thing about you and I, it doesn't matter if it's one Saturday or 10,000 Saturdays. When we get together, it's just like old times.
This is how it always goes with me and you, because I got out of the business. I guess it was about 2.5 years ago, because I had a little heart attack issue, and I got out for a little bit. But I run into you every year at WrestleCade until we got screwed out of it last year. And I run into you every year, and even if it's been a year since I've seen you, me and you just settle down and start talking like we're right where we left off.
Oh yeah,
and I'm proud to say that that the big business train is rolling again, largely thanks to our other guest who got me off my butt and rolling back in this business. And I've known AJ for, geez, it's too long, 25 years almost for him. So we're getting in some veteran company tonight.
I'm telling you. And then on top of that, we got the world's greatest Mid-Atlantic promoter, Chris Plano, as my co-host.
There you go.
So I mean, come on, you can't ask for no better than that.
Tony, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Hey, Chris,
I'm fired up tonight, guys. I'm so glad, AJ, James, that you're here. We got some great things. We're going to turn back the clock tonight, and so looking forward to the story.
Well, I'll turn it back as far as you want. I saw my first Mid-Atlantic match when I was 5 years old, which I will date myself. I don't care. It was 1971, and I attended my first live show in 1973. And the memories of some things might be vague, but the wrestling memories are good and strong, I assure you.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that just never goes away. But one of the cool things, Chris, before we went on the air, I was talking to James a little bit, and James had told me, he hadn't had the opportunity to check out any of our podcasts, and I was telling him who my co-host was, and he said that name sounds familiar, and I said, yeah. I said he was the promoter for New Dimension Wrestling, and his words was, oh yeah, I remember that company. They brought all the big names in.
Well, if that's your response, then I am tickled pink. James, thank you so much. We did a lot of great things when I was running that particular promotion, New Dimension Wrestling, from 1996 to 02, 03. Did a lot. We did a lot and brought a lot of big names in.
All the tape darlings like to scream about Joel Goodhart and all these Philly promotions that did all these dream matches. But I tell you, for a southern wrestling fan, the matchups that you guys put together up there were some Southern Dream matches all on their own. So kudos to you.
Right. And I'll tell you, you know, and I don't want to take away from the guest, but you know, when I look back at my days with New Dimension, and I think Tony can agree with me, it was the perfect storm. You had WCW and the WWF going at it with the Monday Night Wars. You had the NWO. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. I mean, there was so much going on in professional wrestling, and it was just spewing down into the independent scene at that time. And I had guys like Matt and Jeff Hardy working for me, and Lita, and the list goes, Joey Abs and Shane Helms, Hurricane Helms, and the list goes on and on. And to see those guys, and when they busted through, Tony, you might want to back me on this. I think it was the perfect storm.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I had my little company going, which my company didn't even come close to comparing to what you were running, because I was mostly just a bar show. But man, I'm telling you, a few times Chris and I would run shows the same night. We had no idea we were doing it. It just happened that way. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times our talent would just, like the guys would come in and work for me, and then drive 10 miles down the road and work for Chris. So it was good for the boys, because they some of the guys were able to actually get a double payday, and not have to drive a lot of miles.
No, not at all. It was a great time to promote in the Carolinas, and for me to even take the footprint further. I mean, we were doing stuff all over the Southeast and the East Coast, but to go to towns like Charleston, West Virginia, and down to Greenwood, South Carolina, and you got you got Ricky Morton and Jimmy Valiant and Tully Blanchard, and you were like, God, this is Crockett territory, and it was crazy stuff, and it just gave you goosebumps. Some of the times of what I was doing, and it was just great to be around those guys. And the good thing was, and Tony can agree with me, you guys, hey, we made money one night, we would lose money the next, we'd break even, but we were having fun. And boy, it was just such a great time. And didn't even know some of the stars we were sitting on when I talk about Matt and Jeff Hardy, and Joey Abs and Amy Dumas, who became Lita, and I mean, gosh, the list goes on, and even Shane Helms, who became Hurricane Helms in the WWF. It was great stuff.
Chris, I'll tell you my stupid, and I've judged a lot of talent really well, but I'll tell you my stupid misjudgment of talent story, and then we'll let AJ come on here. Mm-hmm. But this is after me and the Mighty Stallion split off, and I left the PWF, and they had a TV taping for WWF that got snowed out. And so they were having to do a TV taping on Saturday instead of their usual Monday, Tuesday. And Stallion was taking a bunch of his boys up there to get the payday, of course. So he was running a show on Saturday in Elkin. Rather than cancel the show, he left John Brewer, the Texas Outlaw, to stay here and run the show with a skeleton crew. And they all went to Texas, wherever it was. And Scotty McKeever called me, and I love Scotty to death, and I miss him to this day. And he said, and I got to do Muscati because I love Muscati. Uh-huh. He says, hey, James, we got Stallion who wants us to come work for him. I said, Scotty, I ain't working for Mighty Stallion anymore. He said, no, you don't understand. He won't be there. He's in Texas, but Don wants us to come help him. I said, okay. So we went, and this was when Matt and Jeff were green as grass.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Matt and Jeff. I think Shannon was already there, and the Black Skull Kid was there. Mm-hmm. And Jeff worked his Willow gimmick, and he worked himself, and Matt worked as a Surge, and I think Matt did a Hood gimmick because he had so few guys. And after the show, I see Jeff and Scotty in the corner just talking. And this was when, like I said, I mean, I love Jeff to death, and God knows he's much better now. God knows. But at the time, there were a lot of flaws in those boys, God bless them. And all the way home, Scotty's like, hey, James, that guy Jeff Hardy gave me his number. He's going to start running. They hadn't even started Omega yet. That's how green they were. And him and his brother are going to start running some shows soon. We need to work for them. I said, Scotty, throw that damn number out the window. That kid is never going to run a show. We're not ever going to see him again. Do you not understand that? Mm-hmm. And when I pulled my foot out of my mouth a few years later, we went right on and became good friends.
That's an incredible story. And if I could, Tony, give me 30 seconds to piggyback on this.
Yes.
My first exposure to Matt and Jeff and the Hardy Boys, I was actually doing a rental out in Manteo, North Carolina, in the mid '90s, and I was doing a rental. I think I had my ring and my barricade. I think I was even ring announcing that night, and I was ring announcing, I should say. And all of a sudden, I introduced these guys, and they came out as the Hardy Boys, and I mean, I was just like, whoa, what is? I mean, I'm talking. There was flying everywhere here, and then the person next to me, who I'll remain nameless for the show, said those guys are going to be out of the business within a year. They're going to break their bodies. They're going to be done. All they're doing is riding the Mexican cartel, because all the Mexicans were flying back then as well, and they're just copying. I said, no, I think they're doing something a little bit different here that emanates with the fans. And lo and behold, I mean, look what happened. And the second I saw them that night, I started booking those guys immediately with, Shane Helms and Shannon Moore and Joey Abs and those guys and Otto Schwanz, and the list goes on and on. I mean, it's just like, whoa, there's a whole new realm out here.
Right. And it didn't take them long to see for that light to shine in both of them, all of them.
No, not at all. No. And yeah, they were taking risks. Yeah, they could have taken themselves out maybe within a year or two in the business, but they knew what they were doing. And heck, I mean, they made it to the top and beyond, and great for Carolina wrestling. And I mean, for those guys, I mean, they're trendsetters, just like we talk, Tony, each week about, Flair and Dusty and, the Rock and Roll and Jimmy Valiant. These guys were the trendsetters of the 90s and into the Attitude Era for WWE, and were a big part of it, and are still on the national scene today, 20, 25 years later in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think they will be for as long as they want to be. As long as Jeff, and I believe he is now, as long as he keeps himself clean, he'll be here as long as he wants to be. And Matt has got such a, forget what he does in the ring, which is great, but Matt's got such a head for this business. And he's got a genius booker in him somewhere, as long as he keeps it reined in a little bit off the really absurd stuff. But he's got a real good head for this business.
Absolutely. I mean, God, I mean, look at Lita, in the WWE Hall of Fame, and what she did for women's wrestling to bring it to that level of she was doing stuff that was unbelievable. And, my first time I ever used Mickey James was at a bar show in up in Greensboro High Point before she even became Mickey James. It was just like, you just didn't know the level of talent that you were sitting on. It was just unbelievable.
Was you still doing the Alexis Lurie back then?
Alexis Lurie, yes, yep. Absolutely. I worked Foxy Lady, Mary Beth Grant that evening. And,
I remember her. I haven't
yeah, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a couple of months later, she signed. And it was just like, wow, what the heck? I mean, you just couldn't keep them. And, actually, Tony, I got a crazy story to tell you.
Okay.
Another Matt and Jeff classic story. Matt and Jeff, one of their first WWE tryout matches was at the Greensboro Coliseum for a house show. And they were working the show, and they called me and said, Chris, we'll have tickets for you at the will call window. I said, okay, no problem. Something happened. Matt couldn't. The tickets, all of a sudden, they call me about an hour before the show. They tell me to meet them at the back gate going into the Greensboro Coliseum. Here come Matt and Jeff, no lie, in this beat-up car pulling up to the Greensboro Coliseum, no lie, and the fans are going nuts in the back. Like, they roll them in the back. I'm waiting there. They wave to me. They get out of the car. Matt's waving to me. The security guy lets me in. The place is going nuts. And I'm down, and there's freaking Undertaker's there, Rock. I'm in the back. I'm just waiting for my tickets. I'm in the back with these guys. And then Matt walks out with the tickets, and I forgot who they worked that night in Greensboro, but when they came out, I mean, it was like, this is ridiculous. It was a house show on a Friday or Saturday night, but I'll never, ever forget. I think we're talking maybe 97, 98 at the latest. Yeah. 98 at the latest, I would say, but it was just.
And Chris, I think
didn't want to go back out. I was going to hang out in the back.
Yeah, and I think I remember that show. I believe because I was there. I believe that they worked D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry.
Yeah.
And Mark Henry on that
It
show.
was like the second match on the show, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't in the opener, but it was like the second or third match at the latest. And I was just hanging out with these guys and walking. It was great. I mean, it was like, and it was a loaded show. I believe it was an A show for the WWE that evening. But I mean, I remember Undertaker was in the back, and I remember The Rock was back there, and
that was the main event.
This is nuts.
That was the main event on that show. It was Rock versus Undertaker.
Right. And it was just like, this is nuts. And that beat up car, I'll never forget they gave me. But man, when they because they couldn't get the gate open, the fans knew them, and they were all going nuts. And when they went back, they're like, "Who's that guy?" I'm like, "I don't, we're good." But man, so I want to say, Tony, 98.
Yeah, I think
say,
you're right. Yeah, 97, 98.
We're talking, and then that's when they really started. I want to say late 98. That was because at 99 they really.
That sounds right.
When I couldn't even try to book them at that point.
That sounds right, because it's like early 99 they started that brief run with Hayes managing them. It didn't last very long. That was leading to their push, and then they took off like a rocket.
Yeah. One of the last shows Matt and Jeff worked for me was in Lynchburg, Virginia, at the Armory, an old Crockett landmark. And then that was it. I remember the conversation with them. They're like, "Man, we don't know where this is going," but like they were like telling me we're signed, and I was so happy for them at that point. And I got it. But they were always true to their bookings, even if they were. I remember that they never skipped out on a booking, no matter what. And that was one of the last times that they actually worked for me. And by then they were just so over at that point that they were just fulfilling what they could locally, but they were already on the national level. Right.
Yeah, they were they were probably one of the the fastest rising stars from the WWE during that era, I would think.
Yeah, and I think it was just the style of wrestling. I mean, let's be honest, they weren't the biggest wrestlers by any means. It was just the style. And that was the draw, and then the rest is history. And obviously Jeff did his thing on the individual level, and so did Matt. Probably Jeff more successful than Matt individually, but as a tag team, good God, I mean, they were at the top of the pinnacle.
Work-wise, Jeff blows his brother away. Business-wise, Matt blows Jeff away to no contest.
Oh, yeah, no, without a doubt. From a business standpoint, Matt's the wiser of the two.
That's he's the reason that Omega was what it was. Plus, Thomas Simpson helping him out with some money and some booking, but Matt's the reason that thing stayed alive as long as it did, no doubt.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And a testament to their careers, and I know we're overloading on Matt and Jeff here with the local connection, but gosh, that pop they got a few years ago at WrestleMania when they came out in that 4-way.
Oh yeah,
tag team. I mean, that might be one of the biggest pops they've ever at WrestleMania.
Yeah, they managed to keep that one under wraps. That was they did a good job on that one, keeping it.
I mean, I don't know too many bigger ones. There may be one or two bigger pops at WrestleMania ever, but that one is without a doubt a top 5, and I'm confident in saying it of all time.
Well, let me tell you something. Going to get you a bigger pop. It ain't a WrestleMania pop. It's going to get you a big pop, because I'm going to steal Tony's thunder right now. Because I'm going to do this, because I'm going to introduce a young man who's joining us on this show, who is the freakiest wrestler you're ever going to find. He is the widest open wrestler you're ever going to find, and he just happens to be under my managerial genius. He is the freak daddy, AJ Frost.
James, thank you. Hey, first of all, I just want to say, I could sit here all night and just listen to Chris talk about the Hardy. That's like reliving my childhood. Those guys were huge influences on me. I mean,
look, I can tell right now we're not even going to get started on what we can say on this show. I can tell that already.
Hey,
I ain't even got to go back to Crockett yet. We got a lot of return visits in this show, I can tell you.
thank you, guys. Tony, Chris, thank you for having me. James,
Mhm.
thank you for that great introduction. Guys, I'm excited, and it's just an honor to be here with everybody.
Man, I'm excited to have you on the show. I know we've been planning this for some time, but with your busy booking schedule, Mr. Superstar, I had to finally get you pinned down, get you on the card. Now, Chris, I want to tell you this. A few weeks ago, Chris, remember I told you I had this big match down in South Carolina. They had me sign a contract, an open contract. And
Yes, I do recall you telling me about this.
This is a dude
Chris,
that
you actually had a few comments, and you made a few comments about that match. I heard you saying something about me at some point. We got a bone to pick here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we do. Okay, we could you just clue me back into maybe what I said, and
I believe it was I have a mouth on me. I got a lot to back that mouth up, Chris.
Oh, well, Tony,
He's got a bigger mouth in his corner now, so you might really want to watch out now.
okay, well. Well, now, Tony, now you know now I always got something up my sleeve, so I'm gonna let them do the talking over there for just a little bit, and we got some old school moves over here.
That's right. Hey, while you guys are talking, Chris and I with the rats in the back taking it out to town, baby.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, but
no.
That's right, Tony. Me and you, we got to mix it up a few weeks ago, and
did.
You know, you came down to Spartanburg. You walked into my hometown. It was fun out there. Let's just leave it at that. I had a great time.
it was a lot of fun. You know, when and I'll say this, I think I've told you this behind in the dressing room before, but I'll say it here on my podcast. And James McHone will probably attest to what I'm about to say. But when I watch you work and I see your intensity, and you're a small guy, just like me when I first started, 20 some years ago. James was right there. James was the first referee to count my first championship match against Japan Thunder Tiger. But James will tell you, and I'm being honest here, when in this business where a lot of the guys are huge, big guys, for someone your size and my size to get in there and even get over is a testament. So, so when I watch you work, you take me back to when I was starting out and the intensity I had, because I was in that wrestling camp with a bunch of big guys, guys like Dangerous Donnie and Gentleman James, and at the time those guys were huge, and I was 125 pounds on my best day. And I remember James McHone and Scotty McKeever and all those guys were probably looking at me like, this little dude, he ain't going to have a chance in hell. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, in that wrestling camp that they had going, I was the last one to not quit. I just kept coming back for more, because I had the burning desire to be a pro wrestler. And I see that same thing in you, and I just want to commend you on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That's funny you say that. You kept coming back. You were always the smallest guy. I've always had to deal with that. And for a long time, I was the youngest guy. I started for my 12th birthday. My parents signed me up for Wahoo Chop Shop.
There you go.
The second weekend, I broke my foot, and I think that everyone thought I was done, but I came back. Like you said, there was that drive and that will to do something, no matter how small I was. I realized really quick that I was small and I had to do something. So I tried to become charismatic and flamboyant and let that energy come out. I'm glad that people like you notice that. I'm glad that everybody, kind of sees that. I worked real hard. it's an honor to be when someone like you notices that. I appreciate it, man. I try to do my best to still give the fans 100% every time I go out there, man. I'm glad we finally have fans back out here now that we can actually work in front of.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you two quick things for each of you. One for each of you. Tony, we had a match one time up there at the AmVets Post. It was you and I think it was Marshall, Magnificent Marshall.
Yeah.
And the finish was for you to bump me, and then somebody run in and screw you and you get on top and cheat the win. And you told me, hey, I'll hit the ropes and come off and clothesline you, stand there, and you'll take a bump. And at the time, now I'm not exactly small, but I'm a lot smaller than I used to be. At the time, I was, let's be honest, fat as hell. And Tony has never even approached the word fat. He was very small. And I said, okay, Tony, I love you to death, but that's not going to work. If you just bounce off the ropes and I fall down, you better have an axe or some shit with you. And I told you, I said, how about if we end up with me in the corner and you slam me and you did like almost a stinger splash into me in the corner. Because Scotty pulled me in the way. That's what it was with McKeever. And McKeever pulled me in and you hit me in the corner. Then I took the bump.
Yes.
Like that makes so much more sense because but you always had the heart and you wanted to do everything you could do, but it was just the little tweaks here and there. And AJ, I saw AJ and his brother from another mother, Nick Fury. First time we've been in Chesney. What was that, AJ? Early '99?
Yes,
it was 98.
Right there, somewhere around in there.
Yeah,
James.
they started coming out. Yep, they started coming out doing their juvenile delinquent bit, and the first thought in my head was, "Who in the hell are these two?" And then I watched them, and I saw that no matter what you did to them, and no matter what horrendous things they were booked to do, they kept coming and coming and coming, and I got to know both of them, and they both listened to the old guy, give them a little bit of advice here and there. They didn't always do it, but they eventually did, and it was obvious to me from day one that you and your buddy Nick, who I love dearly, that y'all were not going anywhere, and you've survived, both of you, a lot of ups and downs. And I'm glad to say that you both are on the right path now, and I'm glad that you're both here and kicking it every night.
Yeah, man, me and Nick, like we've been up and down the roads together. Nick's doing good now. We're doing our own thing on our singles careers right now. Things are really looking good for me. Like I said, Nick's been doing well on his own. James, when we talk about this, it doesn't seem like we've known each other that long. It's crazy, man.
I still see you as the kid, and I'm like, no, he's not a damn kid anymore. But
I think everyone still looks at me that way. It's funny. I love it.
Well, I know I've told you this personally, and I've told you this in our private conversations, but I'm saying it now for Chris and Tony, everybody listening to hear. I mentioned earlier that I took some time off because of my heart issues, and you single-handedly, AJ Frost, are the guy that got me back in this business, and you got me back doing what I need to be doing, and I love you to death for that, and I appreciate it.
I love you, man. I never thought that we could do that. We've always been on other sides, and we've always worked against each other. Having you on my side, I know this may sound crazy. I feel like everything came complete now.
I told him when he first broached this to me, I told him, I said, AJ, we've done about every damn thing we can do to each other. It's about fitting that we finally end up doing some stuff together to somebody else.
The big business army is alive and well.
There you go.
And I'll tell you what, you guys are really gaining momentum there in NAWA as well, because I know the last few shows we've had, AJ, I know I think the last, I'm pretty sure, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe the very last match that I got to see you in, you were in that 6-man with that dreaded NAWA Tag Team Champions, I guess former champions now, but the interns taking on the Moonshine Express and WWE Hall of Famer Henry Godwin.
He wasn't even in the match. It was tag team, and he came out to help us. They got slopped for his trouble.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
he knows out of our business.
I was simply there for support.
There you go.
I was the one left alone in the ring. I don't know where the interns or anyone else was. I looked up, and I'm surrounded by hillbillies with a bucket of slop. I'm still trying to get that stench out of my clothes. I had to throw the shirt and stuff away. I will never eat beef stew again. That's what it reminded me of.
I'll tell you what. I was at that show. I know James. You came over and spoke with me. I was pulling the George South that night. I was sitting over there at the gimmick table selling my stuff and just watching. Right before the main event, I closed up shop and went to the back and I was trying to give those interns a little advice about how to beat that Moonshine Express. And I think what happened, why they left you in the ring, I believe they came back to ask me after the match what exactly went wrong. And I told them, I said, guys, you better look out there. Your boys are back there getting slopped. And they said, can you come?
Fault, AJ.
And they asked me, if I'd come help them, get you out of the ring. And, unfortunately, I love you to death, but I was wearing a pair of my $500 cowboy boots and I didn't want to get that stuff on my boots. So I just kind of went on out the back door. But man, I hate that happened to you. I really do.
Yeah, it was hard to even get home that night. My girlfriend didn't even want me to get in the car. I'll tell you, we're far from finished with Henry Godwin and the Moonshiners. The Moonshine Express have been nothing but a thorn in our side. Me and James has got a plan for them, Tony. We always got a plan.
You mess with big business once. You don't end it until big business says it. So.
Well, James, you actually managed me and Dangerous Donnie and Gentleman James against that Moonshine Express at that little outdoor show we done a few weeks back.
Show, yep.
And man, I'll tell you, them Moonshiners, they are some tough country people. Sooner or later, somebody's going to have to come in and take them belts back from them.
Well, they drink that tough country liquor, but let me tell you, those belts are not long gone. The interns and myself and AJ, we've got plans for those belts. We've got plans for Mr. Adam James. We've got plans for all of those belts.
Absolutely. Like I said, we always got a plan. With you leading the way, me, the interns, the big business army, we can't go wrong. The Moonshine Express, we have a few shows coming up. I think the next one we have is Big Donnie's birthday bash. I can't wait for that. I'm always up for a birthday party, James.
July 17th.
Yeah, I was about to say that, guys. I was while you guys were talking, I was.
Me and AJ missed no chance to plug. Let me assure you that. We missed no chances to plug.
I was going to say, and on my worldwide podcast, what better place to plug a show is here. But yeah, they're right, guys. July 17th, in Burke County, North Carolina, Morganton, North Carolina, at the Burke County Fairgrounds, the Dangerous Donnie birthday party #2. Now, he's not 2 years old, but this is the second annual birthday bash that their NAWA is putting on for this guy. But a lot, like...
You better have a lot of cake and ice cream.
Man, hey, with Donnie around, there's going to be a lot of cake and ice cream. Are you kidding me? I've known that guy for 30 years. Listen, and I'm glad finally that Donnie has seen the light and he's no longer... a Burke County fan favorite. He's kind of started finally looking at things from my perspective and James's perspective, and
hey, he makes a great partner.
I'm telling you, I see big things, and and this right here is something that's interesting too, James. So that night that you managed me and Donnie and James, do you know the 30 years that I have known Donnie and I've worked in this wrestling business with Donnie, that was the first time he and I ever teamed together?
That's crazy.
Right. I mean,
that's great, because I remember all those Sundays up at the AmVets Club where you and Donnie and James and Marshall and Jeff and I mean, every combination you can think of, and you never been tag team partners with him.
No, never. But I remember one time, James. You may remember this. This will give you a good laugh. And Chris, you're gonna be rolling on this one. But Burke County Wrestling was doing little TV tapings and everything, and but on this particular show, they brought me in to do like a squash match with Donnie, and I was still green. I was still learning the business. And I walked up, and I'm the heel. I get in the ring first, and James comes over to me, and he says, "Okay, what's the finish?" And I said, "Donnie's going to splash me off the top rope." And he said, "Are you fucking crazy?" You remember that, James? You remember that, James?
I remember that.
And James
I was very concerned for two people, you and the top rope.
Yes. So Donnie went, and at this time, Donnie was about 450 pounds. Quick match. He slams me down. He goes to get on the top rope, but thank God he couldn't get on the top rope because the ropes were spinning too bad. So he just stayed on the second rope, but he came off, and when he came off, he slipped. And when he hit the mat, James said, "Oh dear God, I think Tony's dead." I remember you saying that, and I was trying to catch my breath. I couldn't get my breath. I roll out of the ring, and James was the first person to come back and check on me. Brother, are you okay? I'm like, I think
all I knew was, where the hell did Tony go?
Right, I disappeared under him for sure.
Yes, you did.
Man, I was 18 and stupid.
He do that to his brother, little Donnie. I've seen him do that to him on the floor. And man, that's just, and I don't want to be on the receiving end of it. I say that, man. I'd be flattened out. Y'all have to straighten me up.
But I'll tell you what, over the years, Donnie and I have had like some of the best times working against each other. One time, AJ, I'll give you a little advice. So one time we're doing this match up in Marion, and it was me. Donnie was working my then tag team partner, the Professor, I think was the name he went by then.
Good.
But yeah, they're working for the heavyweight title, and I'm at ringside because I'm his partner, whatever. And I'm getting in more heat than my partner's getting, right? But my partner ends up hitting Donnie with the wrong side of the chair. Now, there is a right and a wrong, but the wrong end of the chair. But then right before he did that, I hit Donnie with the championship belt, and I knew that I gave him a potato. I knew that, but I didn't realize that my partner had really gave him the potato with the chair. Well, Donnie's knocked out cold. He's laying in the ring. Blood is legitimately gushing out of his head like a faucet. And I'm looking down going, oh my God, this dude's going to bleed to death right here. So we leave the ring, start a riot. Fans come to the dressing room beating on the door because they want to kill us. And I'm worried to death, but back then, nobody had cell phones. So the next week I called Donnie to check on him. My brother, you okay? He's like, Tony, that was the best thing ever. You guys almost started a riot. I'm like, Donnie, you almost died. He's like, oh, brother, just draw.
I remember that.
He's like, brother,
that was
just
the
drawing
night that
heat.
He had that huge puddle out of the middle of his head where you're not supposed to have blood, and it was just gushing out of it. And I'm like, oh, dear Jesus.
Yes, that's it.
I remember that.
The cops came and everything, and I left. I got out of there before the cops showed up, and then I called Jeff, and I'm like, Jeff, is everything all right? And he's like, brother, I don't think we'll be back in that building. I was like, crap.
You haven't really been too far in the wrestling business unless you don't have I got the hell out of there before the cops showed up story.
Exactly.
We all have at least one or two.
One?
You don't have yours yet. You ain't been around long
enough.
Hey,
that one, and I got the hell out of there before her husband came home.
There you go.
That's usually some of mine stories. No, I'm just joking, seriously. But I'm telling you, man, it was a crazy time in the 90s.
Man, you're not kidding. There was a time from 96 to 98 where, so help me, I was running at least 5 nights, not running, but I was working at least 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
I had a 92 Sentra that eventually croaked in 2000. It had 475,000 miles on it, and I'll guarantee you at least 350 of it was from wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Going to shows, because I was working Greenville every Monday for Lewis Crane, Greer every Tuesday for Cowboy, and then Wednesday I was usually home, and Thursday was at least one Thursday a month was that crazy ass damn bar in Silva for Chance Williams and Rick Michaels. That place was nuts. And then Friday and Saturday was just flip a damn coin, and if you're between West Virginia and Florida that you're going to see me, I'll be somewhere. It was I loved it. It was crazy as hell.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the miles and the distance. And like Chris said earlier, there's a lot of times you run a really, really great show and you think, boy, that was a great night because you love this business and you had fun and you got paid. But then by the time you figure the miles in, you didn't make a damn dime, but you didn't care because you had fun and it was a great show.
Right. And that's, and Chris and I have talked about this before, or Chris was talking about when he was running NDW, he was running, 2-3 shows a week. And not like one town away. I'm talking like states away.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely, and and I'll be honest with you, and James, the business. Some of the shows were straight up shows. I was using my own money and my own resources. Some of them were sold shows, whether it be at fairs or festivals or baseball stadiums or whatever minor league ballparks. But that was the great thing of it. And hey, listen, I got no shame in my game. I've run towns that I thought I was going to make a freaking killing on, that I either broke even or lost money. Hey, there were some nights that I'm serious, guys, and don't laugh about this. Where the concession stand and merchandise stand saved my ass, or got me out of there with my life. After all my overhead, but that's just sometimes how the cookie crumbled and the business went. But you had to make money from all different areas. And I know, James, you've been around long enough. You know how it goes.
Absolutely. And like all of us here are in the same boat in this. We're not in this because we desire to make the $1 billion. We'd love to, but we don't look to do that. We're in this because we love this from whatever age we started, and we still love this. And every time we go out there, whether it's a good crowd, bad crowd, COVID crowd, whatever, we go out there to bust ass and have the best match and the best time that we can, and that's what we do. My most profitable day in this business was probably also my stupidest day. It was, I don't know what year, I think it would have been 97. It was 4th of July, and me and my then friend Bo James, we worked 5 shows, started at noon in Rock Hill, South Carolina for Scrappy, and we bounced down to Chester, bounced down to Greenville, bounced over to Clinton, and bounced over to Anderson, and then we went home.
Wow.
And we were on first in Rock Hill, got the hell out. We were in the middle of the show in Chester, and we bounced down to Greenville, and we were at whatever match was next. We said, put us on. We got 2 more stops. And they put us in. We got paid, we got out, and we went home. And
now
you don't see that anymore.
No. Now
we had Ricky Morton with us for the last 2. We picked him up in Chester, and he just did 3. We told him he was the rookie because he was just doing 3 shows that day. We didn't want to forget that all day long. And Bo caught up with Ricky and Andrea in Charlotte. And this is when Ricky and Andrea were not exactly getting along.
Uh-huh.
And he got to ride back from Charlotte to Fall Branch, listening to them fight along. He called me the next day. He said, "So help me God, don't ever do that to me again." I said, "What? You like working?" "No, don't ever let me ride with them when they're fighting all day."
Oh man, yeah, that's tough
right
there.
It was crazy. It was a fun day though. I never thought we'd pull it off and get in and out of all of them and get paid for all of them, but we did.
Now,
I'll tell you, if I could chime in, Tony, for 30 seconds here.
No, go ahead.
I know you said Bo James. What a great guy. I mean, he's done so much for the business. Bo, every time, I'm serious, every time I was either running Southwest Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, whatever, he'd be there, even if he wasn't on the show. He'd be there. And whether he helped me set up the ring, and then I put him on the show. Because he was there in the opening match, or if I had a battle royal, and he goes, man, I just want to be a part of this. And I'm going back 95, 96, 97, great guy. And man, he's still doing it today.
He's an absolute encyclopedia for East Tennessee wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the man, say what you will about him, but he knows every damn thing that ever happened in East Tennessee from 50 years before he was born.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You guys are actually mentioning a bunch of names, like you mentioned Cowboy from the old Greer area.
Mm-hmm.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Well, Cowboy, you look at him and you think, well, what's this guy selling at concessions? And then you see him get ready to go get in the ring, like, holy God, because Cowboy did not look like your picture of the wrestler, but I mean, he didn't give a damn to take anything. He'd take anything you give him. He got in there with Wahoo and let Wahoo chop the piss out of him. Of course, you didn't have much choice about that. Wahoo was going to do that whether you did or not.
Right, exactly. Wahoo
I'll tell you
was
a funny story, Chris. You'll appreciate this about Bo. We ran, Bo ran a show up in Kingsport. This was near the end. Last couple of years, Wahoo was working shows. He wasn't in great shape, but he wasn't real sick yet. And Wahoo was going to be an outside the ring referee. And Bo told him, he said, "Now look, I'm gonna come out there and feed you, and you give me one of them big chops." And Wahoo was like, "Okay." And he said, "I might come out there and feed you a second one. If I do, just go ahead and give it to him." And Wahoo said, "Okay." And he left, and Wahoo looked at me, and I said, "He's not gonna want that second chop, is he?" He said, "No, I don't think he will." And he chopped the piss out of him when he came outside that ring, and never came back over there again. And Wahoo went up to me in the back and said, "Hey, what happened to that second chop?" And he you very rarely come ask Wahoo for a second chop.
No.
You don't ask him for it.
Oh my gosh, that's craziness, but great show. But man, but God, so many flashbacks, man. Here, I'm just, and AJ, from that, I'm getting that vibe, and I have a really, I believe they said earlier from the Spartanburg area, man, and talk about some passionate wrestling fans from Greenville, Spartanburg, down to Clemson and Greenwood, South Carolina, man. Every time I'm down there, they're ready to kill everyone. I kind of hear him in his voice. He's got that passion and work hard and that work ethic, man. Some of the best wrestling fans, I would say, throughout the Southeast are along that strip there, and I'm going back to the old days and even to today.
And absolutely, man. Absolutely, 100%. Even our fans today that come to our local shows and stuff, they're into this. It's 100% everything.
It's real to them.
100% for these guys.
And one thing
the stuff I grew up on, it was great.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I'll tell you for Spartanburg, that I love them to death for it, and God bless Greenville and Greenwood. They got rid of theirs. You can't find the old Memorial Auditorium and Civic Center, but by God, that Memorial Auditorium in Spartanburg is still right there.
Yeah, right here.
And that used to be every Saturday afternoon or Saturday night. Jim Crockett Promotions would take care of that place.
It's empty on most weekends and most through the week. They have some Disney events or skating events, but as far as wrestling, nothing. It's just crazy. I went to an ECW show there they had in the lower level. That's the only show that I've ever been to.
I remember that. But at least it's still there. So many of our prime buildings that we knew that we loved are gone. I mean, the Greenville Auditorium has turned into the damn whatever center they call it. Used to be Bilos. I know it's not that anymore. Whatever it is now, turned into that. And Greenwood Civic Center just got demolished a few years ago. I have a friend who's got a few bricks from it, but they blew that place up. Thank goodness that Charlotte and the Greensboro Coliseum is not what it used to be. It's still there. But that's not the Greensboro Coliseum that I grew up with.
Right, yeah, with the little black lights up there showing you which section that you're sitting in.
And now, at least Charlotte, they've still got the old building. I could care less about that Coliseum on Tyvola, for that. But the old Coliseum on Independence, they can call it Bojangles or 7-Eleven, whatever they want to call it. I love that place to death. And my favorite building when I was a kid was the Charlotte Park Center, which is now the Grady Cole Center, but it's even hanging on something. I don't know how Charlotte hasn't closed it yet, but I'm glad it's still there. That was where I spent many formative Monday nights when I was a child, because every Monday Mid-Atlantic Wrestling was there, and more often than not, I managed to work my way into being there.
I'll tell you, yes, absolutely. A Grady Cole Center still downtown, and they've actually done some renovations to it within the last year or two, even the stadium behind it as well. And Bojangles Coliseum still there on Independence Boulevard. And, Tony, just a few years ago, actually 2 years ago, I was in Norfolk, Virginia, and I passed the scope. And, and it's like you pass it, you look, and then it's like you get some chills a little bit. Yeah. Like, because of, and I was a Christian, and I was like, hey, that's the Norfolk scope. And she's, to her, it's an arena that has Ringling Brothers Circus come to it.
Yeah,
you
same
know,
thing.
and
Yeah,
minor
same
league
thing.
ice hockey. But just all the years, and that was a staple for the NWA once a month in Norfolk, coming off of other Virginia or stops or wherever they were coming from, and Flair would always say the scope in Norfolk, or you would just hear it. Yep. It's just like it just you just have to know.
Well,
You knew where they were. Norfolk was every second or third Thursday. Richmond was every other Friday. Charlotte was every second or third Saturday or Sunday, depending on which weekend night Greensboro wasn't running. And forever, Charlotte was every Monday in Park Center. And Fayetteville, hell, for so long, Crockett was running Fayetteville, Charlotte, and Greenville, all three every Monday night.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
And every Monday. And then Tuesday was Raleigh and Columbia, and sometimes a spot show somewhere else. And sometimes on Mondays they had a spot show in Charleston, West Virginia. They had such a crew back in the day.
Oh yeah,
and
they were running crazy.
Absolutely.
It
was.
I was going to say one. You're talking about all these cool buildings and what these buildings mean to a fan and to us. Greensboro Coliseum is going to always, to me, be my Madison Square Garden, just because every major matches I ever got to witness as a child or a teen happened there in Greensboro. Like I was there for Starrcade '86. I was there for some of the bunkhouse stampedes. I was there for the Crockett Cup. And I was there for the major television tapings, especially in 1988 when the Road Warriors and the Powers of Pain had their bench press contest. That happened right there in Greensboro, and I was there. But the highlight, which I guess what ties all those memories together, was a couple of years ago WWE decided to do the same night that our friends was running WrestleCade, but they done a tribute to Starrcade in the Greensboro Coliseum. And,
I remember that.
And I waited around to the day of that weekend. My wife went out of town. I was home by myself, had nothing to do, and I thought, crap, I'm gonna see if I can get me a ringside ticket to this Starrcade gimmick. And lo and behold, I found one ticket on StubHub. StubHub, I think you're welcome for getting that plug on my show. No, but I got the ticket and I was like on the third row, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. So I'm there, and they got this hot little girl walking around asking people questions about what Starrcade they went to, and so she comes walking out, and I had no idea she's going to interview me, but she's like, hey, anybody over here ever been to any other Starrcades? And I just raised my hand. She's like, you sir, can I get a word with you? I'm like, wait a minute, I'm about to cut a promo at freaking Starrcade. I'm going to make the most of this, right? And so I walk over, and she says, well, like which Starrcade did you go to? And I said, well, I came to Starrcade '86. And she said, oh, well, what's it like? I said, well, first of all, I said, guys, we are in Horseman country. And of course, the place starts popping, and they're all going, woo. And I got like 15,000 people at the time to say woo, and I got goosebumps. And then I just got excited, and I said, listen, I said, you guys have no idea how over guys like Dusty Rhodes, the Rock and Roll Express, Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen. I said, this was our Madison Square Garden. And I started getting wound up, and she cut me off. And I'm sure, because she had that earpiece in, I'm sure in the back they were like, hey, cut him off, man. He
don't know who John Cena is. Cut him off.
Yeah, he's in the business. He's talking. And so they cut me off, and I promise you, 3 independent wrestlers that were there, and they had shitty tickets. They all text me and said, Tony, you're a fan tonight. You're not a wrestler. Quit cutting a promo. And I text them back and said, screw off, dude. I said I had 15 seconds of fame, and I got to cut a promo at Starrcade in the Greensboro Coliseum. I said, follow that up, chump. And then I thought, and then when that happened, I thought, damn, I said, it sure be cool if somebody, if I know that was happening, I would figure out somehow or another to record it. And 10 seconds later, I get a text message from Jason Freeman, said, brother, that was cool. That was you. And he sends me the video. He videoed it. I was like, man, I love this guy. And but that
two big rules in this business: never go to a show without your gear. And anybody puts a microphone in the face, you're cutting the promo.
That's right. That's right. You know, I'm
where
doing
it is, why it is, who it is, what it is.
And at the time, if I had to...
actually, Tony, what really happened was the promo was so good they had no one to back it up. That was the problem. That was really what the problem was. All you had to say was Horseman, Flair Country, and
You said Horseman. They cut you off.
Yeah,
and we didn't make that. We don't care about that.
Right, but here was a cherry on top. So I say that at the beginning of the show before the show starts. Like third or fourth match in, it's like Dolph Ziggler against I can't remember Bobby Roode, and so they're working, and then next thing I know, the crowd starts going crazy, and I'm like, what's going on? I turn and I look, and here comes Arn Anderson. And Arn walks to the ring, right? And Arn sneaks in. He gives Dolph Ziggler the spine buster, and then Bobby Roode pins him, right? And then Arn gets on the microphone, and he says, "Oh, Dolph, welcome to Horseman Country, buddy." And
there it is.
And he looks over at me and points. I'm like, he freaking said that for me, motherfucker. I'm the reason he did that. I made him come out here, you know, in my mind. I know that wasn't the truth, but in my mind, I'm like, he said this is, I mean, I don't think he would have said that. I don't think
he knew where the Horseman fan was.
Right. And I don't, and I bet you what happened. I'm being funny here, but listen, this is what happened. Okay. So when I said that, Arn looks at McMahon and says, I'm going out there tonight and doing that spine buster, and I'm going to say this is Horseman Country, and I'll get a bigger pop than that dude got. No, Arn, I love you. No, I'm just joking.
Hey, once Arn points to you, all you got to do is just hold up the four fingers. If that, you don't have to do anything else.
Oh, man. Hey.
At that point, that's all you got to do.
Listen to me. Every time Chris and I go...
Tony, so when are you making your debut? So when will you be making your debut?
Man...
Tony's waiting on the crowds to come back, AJ. Now that they're going to let crowds back in this summer, he'll make his SummerSlam debut very conspicuous.
And then of course, I gotta let Chris look over the contract and make sure I'm getting paid the right amount of money.
That's right, and yes, absolutely, Tony. And no matter where this match takes place,
and if Chris is doing that, he's going to make sure the Chris Plano cut is accounted for.
That's right. I was going.
And if it takes place in Spartanburg, it'll be a bigger cut.
That's right, be a bigger cut. Now,
I mean, another thing about the old buildings. I mean, you watch this stuff now, and it's not even just wrestling, but it's just arenas in general. Every damn place looks just.
Oh
like
yeah, looks identical.
Mm-hmm. You watch the old shows, and I swear to God, you can look at those. There, that's Spartanburg. See the columns. There, that's Dorton Arena. See the windows? You can, everything had something that you can tell where they are, and you can, if you know it, and then went to them like we did, you can pinpoint what's where. And you watch this shit today, and it's just, well, there's the same lit walkway they came down last week. There's the same runner boards around the edge of every arena, like because they make them all cookie cutter buildings these days. There's not any personality left.
Mm-hmm. Everything looks the same.
And they've taken all the personality out of the Greensboro Coliseum. It's just cookie cutter and bland as the rest of them now. It's still Greensboro, so I still love it because at least it's still there and it's still used, but it's not the same Greensboro Coliseum that it used to be when we used to go. And it used to be an event when you get to go to Greensboro, because I lived in Charlotte when I was a kid all those years, and every big show, we had plenty of events in Charlotte, and God knows plenty of stuff happened down there, but the big shows, the March 12th, the Starrcade, everything else, Greensboro was the MSG of Jim Crockett Promotions and Mid-Atlantic Wrestling.
Absolutely.
And it used to be, you get to go to Greensboro. I get to go where? Holy shit. You know, right. I mean, it used to be, and now it's just like, oh, yeah, they're in Greensboro Thursday. Okay.
Well, you know, even going back to when, you know, a few months back when I got to go to WrestleMania, I thought, you know, I'm in Florida on vacation. I need a little break from the family. They need a break from me. I'm going to go to WrestleMania. I've never been. And I went. It was like, no big deal. It was almost like it was a house show with a bunch of friggin' lights and stuff. So I was really let down because it wasn't like the pomp and circumstance. I know Chris and I had talked about this on another podcast, but it wasn't like the pomp and circumstance that WrestleMania 3 or 6 or 12 was. You know, it was so different. But now, speaking of big matches, I know before we went on the air, and I spoke with AJ. AJ, you got a big match coming up soon, right? July 3rd, 4th. When is it?
I do, actually, yes. July the 3rd for American Pro Wrestling. It's a event we're putting together called Scars and Stripes. It's for, the 4th of July is the next day, but we're going to start things off early the night before. I'll give you a brief little history here. I was in a tag team with a guy named, James, you know this history, but Tony, and I don't know if you know this, and Chris, I'll fill you in. Me and Tyler Storm were the perfect storm, a tag team, and we teamed for about 8 years or so. Well, my back, I got tired of carrying him, just plain and simple. I'm gonna be honest. I was making all the decisions. So I kicked him to the curb, and on July the 3rd, for the past 2 months, we've been going at it back and forth. It came down to where we're going to put our careers on the line. APW is not big enough for the both of us, and we're going to go at it inside of the cage. The loser of that match will have to leave APW, so we're going to see what happens. But I have a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in myself. I thrive under pressure. James, you can attest to this. I feel like July the 3rd is going to be a great night for me, not so much for Tyler.
Okay. Now let me set two things straight. AJ's going to be surprised at one of these. Let me set this straight. July 3rd is. I'm
really excited.
You're good. You're going to be surprised. You're going to be surprised when I say one of these. July 3rd is going to be AJ Frost beating the holy hell out of Tyler Storm. That's going to happen. And on Monday, July 5th, Tyler Storm is going to be back out there looking for a job. That's going to happen. That's all said and done. AJ Frost is going to lay this punk out just like he carried him for 8 damn years. He's going to shut him down in 8 damn minutes. That's going to happen. Now, the other thing that I will say, and there is no love lost between me and the mighty Chief Jay Eagle. AJ knows all that. I'm not even going to get into all that here. But I will say this. Anybody who's working on the end, and Tony knows this for sure, and I'm sure Chris probably does too. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's working on the indie circuit ever in this state for the last 20, 25, 30 years, if you haven't worked at some point for American Pro Wrestling and Jay Eagle, then good, bad, or ugly, whatever might be there that night. And you're going to see probably all three in the same night at every APW show I ever went to. There's some good, there's some real good, and there's some, holy God, why is this in the ring? But if you haven't done it once, you should do it, because there's a lot of guys that Eagle has let in the ring who I'm like, why did you ever let this guy stop buying tickets? And there's a lot of guys he's let in the ring that have gone on to do and actually learn some stuff and do some things. One of them we're talking to right now, for God's sake. So if you haven't worked for APW, you need to work for APW, or at least go to a show at least once. God knows I spent plenty of time down there. AJ knows that. But I don't have a lot of love left for Jay Eagle, but that promotion, and it's still going every week. And I've seen it every week. AJ shows me the crowds are there,
and they're picking up. The thing,
they're picking up because they're happy to go out.
Let me say one thing real quick. Good, like you said, good, bad, ugly, whether you like him, whether you love him, or you hate him, you can't stand him. He's doing something. He's running week after week. He's giving guys a place, and we may not all agree with what's going on there. It's a place to work.
And that I
right
forever. Absolutely.
You realize.
And that's what
and he must be doing something right to be running this long. That's all I'm saying.
That's what our props I give him for, is that he does give guys a shot, and it is like you said. And that's my point of all this, is that he's kudos to him, because it is still running, and he's kicking. They're kicking butt with. Of course, they got AJ Frost. Of course, they got a good crowd.
It's my home. It's where I started. It's where I'm still going, and that's what I'm saying. Like Tony, you brought it up, and that on July the 3rd. Stars and Stripes, Tyler, you're going out of APW. And we got probably 7 more matches. The heavyweight titles on the line, the tag titles. It's going to be I'm going to go out on a limb here. We've all been working real, real hard. This is going to be our biggest show to date.
Well, I'm
Tony, maybe the
excited.
Binge Buster show on location.
There you go. There you go.
You never
know.
know. Hey, you never know
I'm
where
throwing it out
I'm
there,
gonna show
Tony.
up at.
Chris, I'm going to give you an invitation. Chris, you come out firsthand and check it out and see me run my mouth firsthand.
Okay. Yes, I absolutely will. And you never know what might come about if I have to get up out of my seat. Then,
You know, AJ, one thing you got going for you is I love your passion for APW, and you should have it. And at least you still get to work for where you started. You still get to have your home. My home promotion died so many years ago. It ain't even fun. My first place I worked was in Monroe, North Carolina, at a horrible building called the Dickerson Center, which was some kind of recreation center. But this damn place was awful. There was a Southern Wrestling Federation, which was about like it sounds. It was about as Southern as it sounds, but it was a place to start. And it was July of '88, and yes, that makes me old as dirt. You can do the math. We don't need to do that, but there it is.
Yes, sir. I started with Eagle in '99. He was at the Shamrock then, and that's where I first saw all you guys. And then we went through a few buildings, and here we are now. I said, we're doing something right. He's doing something right to still keep going and running this long. So I want everybody to come out on the 3rd. Like I said, everybody's been working real hard. So I hope to see y'all there. And by the way, I ain't losing. I ain't going nowhere.
After you polish off that Tyler Storm kid, we got to work something out for me down there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to put that mask together again, but.
And
we all know AJ Frost is going to beat the hell out of Tyler. But look, folks, if Tyler Storm owes you some money, you might want to get to win him on the 2nd because he's not going to be having any way of making any after the 3rd.
No, he's not. He's not going to be doing anything. And Tony, there's always a spot for you. We'd love to have you anytime you're free, man. I know you're so busy with everything, but anytime you're free, please come on down.
Yes, I will. I was down there, like I said, a few weeks back, and you and I had a great match, and I've got I ordered me some new gear. It finally came. So I'm hoping to debut that at maybe the birthday bash, but if not, I know NAWA's got a big show. It's in the works for August, so I may save it for that. I don't know yet, but new boots, new tights, and a new robe, and I cannot wait to bring it out there for the fans to see. Man, what a great show tonight's been! Walking down memory lane, getting acquainted, getting reacquainted. Telling some great stories, and I'm sure we could go all night long and tell more. But man, what an exciting hour we've had today on today's show. I do want to get this out before we wrap the show up. I know a lot of people have probably been watching that on A&E, that television show. They had WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. Well, next week on the Binge Buster Show, we are going to have one of those most wanted treasures on the show, Mr. Wes Potter, who is the owner, and he's the owner of the Ric Flair Starrcade 83 robe. He is going to be on the Binge Buster Show next week, telling his story of his experience being on the show and acquiring that Ric Flair robe. And of course, he is a great referee in the pro wrestling business. So we'll definitely be talking to him about his wrestling career and tons more stuff. So next week's show is going to be just as great as this week's show. Chris, you got any parting words before we go off the air tonight?
Ooh, Tony, what a show this has been. I think we've touched all the bases this evening. I mean, gosh, and James, AJ, wow, you guys brought some great stories to the show this evening. And, man, you got me excited about July 3rd. I mean, you guys are going to rock and roll it July 4th weekend. And, man, you really rolled back. And we opened the book this evening on some old school wrestling. And I had a couple of flashbacks along the way. And you definitely rattled the old brain up top there. So I appreciate it, and kudos to you all and the great things you've done in the wrestling business.
Thanks very much, Chris, and thanks, Tony, for having us. We had it was fun. We must do it again sometime because we barely even sniffed the surface. So I had an absolutely great time with you guys.
Yeah, Tony, we definitely got to bring them both back because I know we delved into Matt and Jeff's argument at the beginning, and rightfully so, but so much more to talk about. And, boy, I just have a gut feeling great things are going to happen coming off of July 3rd with AJ, and who knows, things are going to continue on to the second half of 2021 and beyond.
Oh, yeah, if you need a guest for, like, the middle of July or the end, I mean, God knows Tyler Storm's going to have plenty of free time. So, I mean, there is always that. It won't get you as good a ratings as this, and it won't certainly be this entertaining, but he'll have the free time if AJ leaves his mouth intact to speak, but that's another story.
Tony, you want to dial the phone tonight, maybe Wednesday, July 7th?
Wednesday, July 7th, bring them on. We'll have the winner of that big show. Man, I can't wait to find out how, exactly. And I know it being in the cage, it's going to be a bloodbath, and man, it's going to be intense. And if any of you fans here in the Carolinas are free that weekend, I'd suggest getting in that car and driving down I-85 and take it down to Spartanburg and Greer.
What is it, AJ? 101 Builders Court?
122 Builders
122. That's it. I knew I saw the Builders Court. I didn't know the address. But
yes,
you get,
sir.
Yeah, there you go.
Builders Court, Bowling Springs, South Carolina.
There you go. Get the plug in, buddy.
And fans, if just go on the Facebook page and like the APW Facebook page, and on that page, you'll learn about this great event and all the other events that APW has. AJ, am I wrong? APW runs each and every single Saturday. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Every Saturday, 8:00.
So every Saturday, 8:00. You get there at 7:00. They have karaoke. So if you want to get a few beers, go down there and sing "I Saw the Light," and I'm sure Tyler Breeze.
Karaoke, you better have a few beers.
I'm telling you, and I'm sure after this match is over, Tyler Breeze is going to be over there singing "I Saw the Light." Right.
If you're on Facebook, while you like the APW page, if you wait till about July 6th or 7th, they're going to be a GoFundMe for Tyler Storm and dental bills. There's going to be one of those up there too. You can go check that out too.
That's it. Well, fans, thank you again for tuning in on this week's show. Guys, thanks again for joining us. For Chris, I'm Tony. We'll see you next week here on the Binge Buster Show.
Thank you for listening to the Binge Buster Show. Make sure you like us on Facebook and download us on your favorite podcast platform.